Hello, everyone. I'm Franny. Welcome back to Minus the Blueprint. Another episode, still going strong. Ladies, how you doing?
It's been a stressful week, but hanging in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I agree.
stressful. You want to get it off your chest, or what you want to talk about it a little?
Well, I think it's just the whole idea as our parents are getting older and having to deal with some of the consequences of that. So really, just it's a weird space to be in. My mom is going through some health issues that is pretty serious, and it's kind of just put me in a space where a lot of self reflection on my own health, things I need to get together, but also on what friendship and community looks like. I think that that's the biggest thing that is really getting me. Because a lot of times she's in the hospital right now, but a lot of times she's alone, and that is just really heartbreaking to see that.
Well, prayers. We've been praying for her, full recovery for sure. So I know you've
Appreciate
been
that.
through a lot. Yeah. Me, how's your week been?
I guess the same. Definitely keeping you in my prayers, Shayna. I think for me today, this week just been stressful in regards to just like, regulating emotions and really getting a better sense of how to navigate life post a lot of different changes. So I think for me, and today was not a bad day though. I went to a self love workshop, which was amazing with my mom and my daughter. But I think one of the things that I kind of took from that is just making sure that despite everything, I'm still being my authentic self, and then making sure that a lot of things that I've already started doing to be in a better place emotionally, that I kind of stick with them. So I think this week has been stressful, been emotionally draining. But I'm looking forward for a better week. So that's where I am.
Come on, positivity. Um, my week's been regular, super, working a lot. Same old. But I did something to challenge myself, so I have to share with you guys. I went to this. So one of my friends, I'll say associates. Shout out to Beauty Bandit by Ashley. She does my sugaring and she's my makeup artist when I get my makeup done, which is rare. But she had this event and it was called Friends at First Sight. And so I thought it was such a dope concept because it was your speed dating with other women in the area. So you know how typically it's like with men. And so she did it with women to kind of network and like we talked about friendships on one episode, how hard it is for women to make friends or just that concept that black women aren't friendly or don't make friends. And so when I tell you I like got dressed and undressed and dressed and undressed because I wasn't gonna go because I was like, because you guys remember from episode one, I'm like, well, I'm not like super friendly, which I have to just do a disclaimer, like, not that I don't want to be friendly, I'm just super shy. Like I until I get around my people, I'm just like, no, just me and my circle. So it was a really challenging experience. I remember we all talked about like Shaniqua goes on solo dates all the time, which I'm like, so that was one of my challenges to myself this year. So it was pretty cool. Like the women, they were nice. I had to get out of my head and be like, "Ooh, do they do they like me? Are they just like faking this conversation?" So I thought that was just a really cool thing. I did that yesterday. Other than that, like I said, my week has been my week. So it's good to see you, ladies. Um,
Too, girl.
That is pretty dope though. No, that's a pretty dope concept. Never thought about that. Like, yeah, I do. I love a good solo date by myself, just
every
me.
week.
And I was just trying. I will say this too. One of the things that I also, not to like not even get to our topic yet, one of the things that I also did this week that I keep going back and forth with is like, taking like the year and time off to really just figure out who I am. I am also in this space where I'm trying to navigate myself back into like my lives of like family and friends. And it's really just about like, juggling and what that looks like. So I really like that concept of like just putting yourself out there, really trying to like get to know people, getting to let them know you and just like building a tribe. So that's really dope.
Yeah. I mean, because we really don't have the opportunities to meet like new women, right? Unless we're in school, which none of us are currently. Shay, you still out of school? Or you?
I'm still out of
Oh,
school.
okay, okay.
I'll let y'all know. I'll tell you, I might law school. I'll be like, hey, I'm in school, y'all. But no, not right now.
Okay. So yeah, it's not a lot of different places to meet women. So it was cool. It was a really cool concept. So All right. So our topic today is we're gonna talk about just being black, what it means to us, the concepts of black. I know there are a lot of different what's the word, like phrases like your black card and things like that that float around. So we wanted to kind of touch on that today and talk about it, even like how we like where we learn to be black from. So thank you for starting the conversation, Shay. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna start off saying I was born black.
Well,
It's just in my
James
DNA,
Brown.
you know.
Say it loud. You're black and you're
Yeah.
proud.
Hey, come on now.
No, but for real though, I know I said I would jump in. So for me being black, one, I was always like curious about, not curious, but I've had different perspectives of the difference between the terms African American and black, like when to say it, like what's the big difference of it. So as I've gotten older, I've now transformed into saying black versus African American, and I'll get into that later. But for me, growing up again in Toronto, Canada, gotta shout it out every time I can. Growing up in Toronto, though, like being Canadian black is different than being American black. When I came over here, I still migrated towards the to white friends, white peers, and they accepted me more than the black girls in middle school, elementary school, and I just got along with them. And then when I got into high school, I kind of like was dipping my toe into the into the black girls, but I didn't feel they were as receptive to me. One, because I was Canadian, I talked white, whatever that means, right? Proper, I'll say. Um, my mannerisms weren't like them. Like I didn't wear my hair like them. I didn't dress like them. Like to me, I was just like me, and I didn't really know like the world going on around me, because also my parents didn't really talk about it, right? Like we didn't watch Roots. We didn't go to like different facts.
I'm still sorry. I need to see middle school pictures of friend. How was you dressing? I'm just
Right.
Girl, don't even like Little House on the Prairie dresses like that my mom made.
Song just popped in my head. Like, how was she dressing?
They will never come to service, okay? It was not. I look back like,
I go to mama house, look at some of these books.
I need to see this.
I'm thinking like,
I was like, for real, Rochelle. So, but even though like even my family though like has, and I won't say like which family, but like some of my family has certain like stereotypes of black people too, especially Canadians. Like their idea of black Americans over here is not the best, and so like that was ingrained as well. And so for me, being black as I am today is I feel like I have more sense of a pride than I did back then. Now I'm like really learning what it is as far as our history, not like, because I think everyone has their own concept of or their perspective of what black is to them. And so I'm still learning, but when I tell you I love black women, I love black men, I just love everything about our culture. I think we are one of the most imitated cultures in the world, right? They love us, they want to be us. But they don't respect us enough. And that's a whole nother conversation. So I could go on and on and on, but I want to hear from you ladies, because I know we all have different backgrounds and experiences. So what do you ladies think?
Well, I guess I'll go. I pretty much grew up in, it was predominantly black area. You know, we were black, you know, the hood basically, you know. But I had a wide range of friends too. So it's just what it was. But I think for me, when I was thinking about the topic, the thing that stood out to me is how within my own that they tried to isolate me by saying, "Oh, you act white," because I don't act hood enough. So I never got that past that. I spoke like them, but it felt like mainly it was within my own family. They use it as a way to isolate me, like, "Oh, you know, she act white," and it used to just get to me because it was like a dig. So I'm like, no, I don't act white. Like, what are you trying to say? I ain't trying to be nothing but me. Like, I'm black. Like, if I feel very empowered by that, but every time someone said it, was like it was like knock me down. And so I tried to justify, like, what do you mean? Because I'm educated, I act a certain type of way. Are you trying to say white equals educated? It just was like so deep rooted into like negativity for me that it just felt like, am I black enough? What are you trying to say at the end of the day? So I think for me, that's the hardest thing to have to deal with, because to this day I still hear that, and I got to the point where I brush it off, but it still stings a little bit. It's like, it's a dig, so it still stings a little bit, and it kind of like isolates, and I pull back. I always feel myself retreating back when I hear it, because there's not nobody outside of my family except for this one guy I dated who said it, and that was it. That was it. Like, after he said that, I like went off. I made Facebook statuses. I hate when people say black people act white. What does that even mean? Like, if you go through my history, now this was years ago, you will find that status. I was so mad.
That was a different shade.
It was. I'm like, I don't even post it on social media, but I was like, absolutely not. But outside of that, I don't hear it. Outside, like with my friends, it's just like I am who I am. And the crazy thing is, I grew up in the hood, so I don't get it.
Yeah. When you say about the dating though, so I had I won't go to my dating history, but okay, so I have had a few guys, even like my friends, that like when the way like I cook, they're like, girl, they're like, you eat like white people. And I'm like, wait, what? So I like, for example, spaghetti. Like, I don't like my stuff all mixed together. I like the meatballs. My mom makes the best spaghetti and meatballs in the world. I don't eat anyone's but hers. But people are like, girl, that's not how you make spaghetti. I'm like, I don't want it all mixed. I don't want it all mixed together. So little stuff like that. They're like, girl, you do not cook black. Or like I cook things like shepherd's pie. Do you guys eat that?
Mm-mm. No.
But that's your thing, though. That's your thing.
Yeah. So
we gotta get, we haven't been exposed. That's what.
Yeah. And I like fries and gravy.
Okay. Well,
I like fries and gravy. Do y'all eat that?
Fries and gravy. Is that
it's just like mashed potatoes and gravy, but better?
No, we from like Metro Detroit. We do chili cheese and fries.
They don't like Coney Island.
Chili cheese.
So you just feeding into that. You just feeding into it, and I'm trying to.
No, I'm saying like you didn't give no good valid points here.
Okay, you know what? When Nick's coming to Michigan in like a month, I got you.
I don't know fries and gravy. I'll eat a shepherd pie.
I'll take the shepherd pie, but
I'm gonna do a nice family dinner with all my little food,
mashing up my fries, mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes.
You know what? You're uninvited. You're done. You're blocked.
That's actually a great idea, Nick. I wouldn't even thought about that.
In the corner, hey, Shayna here.
Hey, do my food next.
So see, you guys just went all off the circle. I'm like, oh, be with me, and you're like, ew.
It's shepherd pie. What is shepherd pie? Is it a pot pie?
No.
Is that with like the mashed potatoes on top or something like that?
What's up with potatoes?
No, but it has like ground beef. It has the vegetable. You know what? Like I said, family dinner at Franny's when you come in a month because we're going to see Mary J. Blige.
Anyway,
I'm mashed potatoes and beef. Is it the meatloaf?
And mixed vegetables too.
No, I don't want it.
You might need a little gravy on it.
It has gravy in it. It has gravy in it. It's good. It's good.
I'm open.
Be a little adventurous. Okay, but anyways, let me get us back on topic since you guys threw me off. So I agree. Like, so I agree. Like my foods, whatever, may not be as black as some people want, but it's still good. Your tummies are full. My son has never went with a day without eating. But no, I will. So I digress though, and I'll let Neek have the floor and talk about what it means to her.
No, I think it's crazy because like I've always grew up in the hood. Always been a little bit different. I've been called Oreo lots of times. White on the inside, black on the outside, but never really bothered me. I think because like I loved me some Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Spice Girls. Shayna used to wear those big shoes. Like I used to wear the high top shoes in the school. Like
I wasn't like that.
The jeans, all that. I don't know where it came from, to be honest. It's just how I always been. So I guess like being called like, oh, you're not black enough never really bothered me. Because I never knew what that meant, right? Because the examples that I had in the hood, like it was stereotypes, right? So like when I think about like not being black enough, when I think about like some of the positive people in my life who were black, like when I think of like my aunt or like cousins, like they were successful, they were going to college, they were doing the black stuff. So like, what do you mean? So am I not black enough from like a hood standard? Because I don't like, this type of stuff, or I'm not doing the things that are negatively associated with black people. That's why I'm not black enough. or where's the underline? So I think that's where I've always got like a little bit confused, to just like the Black that I saw from like watching the Cosbys, right? Watching Different World, like seeing people in my life, like seeing like family and like other friends, parents, like that, they were Black, but they were just doing the dang thing. So it always was one of those things to me, is just like, where do we come with this? Like, you're not Black enough to whose standards? And to be honest, it always seemed like it was coming from like a hood standard, to be honest.
I said that it's definitely the hood standard, but I also feel like, see, it would be different if I heard it from like friends. I'm like, all right, whatever. But it's like when it's your family and it's like a dig, and it's already, when I said before, I feel like I'm the Black unicorn of my family, so it's almost like something that further separates me, where I don't fit in to this, even though I don't fit in. But you don't have to, like, try to push me out. And then I also want to say, Frank, food is subjective, okay?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'm just thinking about shepherd pie, but I'm gonna let it go. But food is subjective.
Now I got to do a cooking segment for that, for the audience, because you guys are trying to play on my food.
No, you got it. It's subjective. That's all I got.
Goodness.
So where did you guys, okay, so how about your family? Did they contribute to what you do know about your culture? Or because even like outside of feeling Black enough, right, like we still have a culture that we want to honor our diversity. So how did your family cultivate that for you all?
Oh man, that's a good question. So that's a really good question, because I don't know. And it almost goes back. I know we talked about like we want to do a topic of like how we learned how to like to love, what our family taught us growing up. And I think this is like sometimes a part of me where it's like draw a blank. We didn't really have sit down conversations like your great grandpappy came from here, unless it's on like the staple side. Like they can outline everything, but like sit with immediate family, like we didn't like have that conversation of like, this is where you came from. Most I know, like my grandmother, mother's Black, African American from Arkansas, and then her dad's Irish. Like that's the most that I know. Like we never did like the full background. We got dark skin, light skin. You see what I'm saying? So like that's a really, really good question in regards to like how did we kind of figure out like where our Blackness come from, like how much of our Blackness is. Like Jana, I don't know if you ever had that conversation, and Fran, I would love, I know you bring different types of Blackness inside you. So like I'm just curious, when I say that, you know what I mean?
No, I do, because I was going to touch on that. But yeah, you guys are making it feel like the
Listen, I think it was just more stereotypes. Like I'm saying, I can't tell you when I learned how to play spades, but that's part of the culture. I just know. I just knew how to play.
Teach me the game, Ghost. I've been wanting to learn.
I'll teach you, because the thing is, probably before I was 5, I was sitting at the table, playing. Like it's just one of those things. So I could have to say my family gave me that, like barbecues and things like that. Even through the cooking, like we talk about, I said food is subjective, but some food isn't. So like greens and things like that, and having to learn how to pick greens at a young age. And I'm gonna have to say that. Huh?
Is it a ham hock in there?
It is, but also chitlins. I had to learn how to clean chitlins as a kid. I know. Like to this day, I grew up now. I would not touch it, but when I was young, I did some hot sauce on it. It just what it was. It was served to. I came from the house. You eat what's in front of you, basically.
My mom tried to convince me that we ate it when we were younger. I'm like, no, stop telling that lie.
All kids did. I feel like we did. I feel like it was like, if you was born in the 80s, you ate it. But I cannot. I tried it as an adult, and no, it's not for me. It's not for me. But I think like that part is what they taught us, like the music. My grandfather, he was a blues person. He listened to really old music. but not really culture related. I don't think they were really in tune with their culture. My grandfather was Creole for Louisiana. He grew up in the Bayou. He was born in the Bayou. He moved to Baton Rouge when he was like 13. He didn't speak English. He spoke patois, so he had a I don't, his speech was a little different because he had a hard time with English, but we didn't really learn more about that. I learned more about that after the fact than while he was alive, and he didn't teach us that. So it was none of that sit down and hey, here's your culture.
Yeah.
The other side of the family is from Alabama, and I learned that when I was an adult. So not a lot of teaching about that, but I did do ancestry and 23andMe, trying to understand, like trying to trace my roots and have an understanding of that. So that was pretty interesting. So yeah.
That's awesome. So my mom did the ancestry thingy years ago now. And it was such a crazy story that I'll do it's a whole nother episode. But as I mentioned before, like my great grandfather was the first Black postman in Canada. And so that's how we discovered, and she got connected with people that had been working on like his story for years. And it was just all a big connection when we put all the puzzle pieces together. But that part, again, that was in adulthood that I started learning stuff like that. So we didn't have sit downs either. And then even for my Caribbean culture, my dad again is from Dominica, and so that's even like Caribbean Black is a whole different type of Black. So, and like in the last decade or so, I've been traveling with my cousins and going to like Barbados, Jamaica, all that. Like it's just being Black there is not for me. I was like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not enough because the music is different, right? So just getting into that, as you said, even the food is different. So feeling not Black enough in that space and not Black enough here in America, and not so it's just like, damn. So it's almost like, again, I got to create what I think is Black for me and honor that and be okay with that. So even my son, I remember when he was younger, I used to purposely not use color to identify people because I didn't want to I didn't want to ingrain certain messages in his head, right? I wanted him to be able to create his own concept of what race was to him and culture. But then I remember getting backlash from my family, like or friends, actually more friends and family, like, no, he needs to know what Black is. His dad, actually, he needs to know what Black is. Like, you need to be able to separate the two and blah 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 blah. So I had a whole bunch of backlash there. But now he's coming into his own. He's definitely not your I gotta be careful with the words I use. He's not blackety black, right? He's not blackety black, but he he's not on the other spectrum either. So he's learning his identity. I'll say that to be safe. He's learning who he wants to be. So yeah, I think it's just such a big topic, and we could go on forever about what we learned when we were growing up and what we learn now. But Shay, I'm interested to know, like, when you got to Howard, because that is a historically Black college, like how did that play into who you are, and did you learn more about being Black when you were there?
I think I learned more about Black people in general because I've only seen it one way. I've only seen the hood Black, the struggle Black. I didn't see the successful Black as much. It's like it opened my eyes to so many different things. The first time I had Black professors, studied Black literature, everything was pretty much rooted in being Black. So it actually engraved a appreciation more for being Black by going there. Like I seen so many different Black people on so many different walks of life. It was just so encouraging because when you're in one little area and that's all you see, that's all you're gonna know. That's why I'm a big proponent of young Black kids going to HBCU just from the cultural standpoint of it, because you're going to get exposed to some things that you have never seen before, and it could inspire you so much. So I think it really just ignited that for me. And like Issa Rae said, I'm going for everybody Black, and that's what was just like fulfilled there.
It's a different kind of pride when you see your people, like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, speak. Even just like when I see frat boys strolling and stuff, I'm just like, do the damn thing. It's just a different kind of pride for sure.
Yes, I agree. And it's just something that's the whole reason I'm like, oh, I want to go back to the DMV. I want to live in that area just because of the Black culture that is there, positivity, and I want to be a part of that. And even though I do feel like they are building it a little bit more in Detroit too, I can see a lot of people like it's growing and a lot of things that they're doing in Detroit.
Like what?
Like the positive things, like like even what you were talking about. I don't know if that was in Detroit or not, but I've been seeing a lot of those type of events. I've been seeing mom meetup groups with Black women of how to get outside and do different things. It's just so much positivity.
Yeah, I would say that's still probably the one thing and the only thing that I will ever say like I miss Michigan for is like the Black people. I think like when I first came to San Antonio, it was a struggle to find me. First off, I didn't know where to go. But it's very small African American community here, especially considering like a lot of people in San Antonio are like transplants and military. So like trying to find the culture of Black San Antonio, because there's a difference, right? There's a difference between like the Black culture of just like we're all here, we're all Black, so let's figure it out, versus when in Michigan, y'all, we Black, we're from here, this is our home. So I think that was like something that I do miss sometimes, and even like coming back to Texas, or even when I was in California, I didn't have it there either. So like I think that's the one thing that always like tugs at my heart when I like come to Michigan and get to turn on a gospel station and hear Kirk Franklin. I'm like, yes, get there. It's the little thing. I can't just turn on the gospel station here and hear Kirk Franklin. So it's like, to me, the little things that get me excited.
Yeah.
So like, I think about that, and it's funny I said that because like when I went to go see like my friend in DC, it was the same thing. Like seeing all these Black people, just like it was natural to like hear the music, to just see them coming and going. Like I don't realize I missed that until like I'm in the midst of it. So that's why I think like it's super, super important. Even when I think about like, the things like with my kids growing up, not really in like a predominantly Black area, or like the activities that they do, like I'm always like trying to be mindful of that. And I think when y'all say like, how to have like that identity as Black people and stuff like that, I think for me, it's just like, I try to do what I can to be not just my authentic self, but my authentic self as a Black woman. Like, yeah, I may not like all the typical stuff, what they say we should like, but there are things about me that still brings me back to like my roots. Like I'm really, really big on like natural hair, right? Like I just feel like, there's something amazing about like being like your natural self, right? Like I love color purple. Like I love a Black movie. Like y'all know that. Like I love a good Black movie. I love a good Black book. I love a good Black story. I feel like
and tell them what your favorite movie is.
I mean, it may or may not be color purple. Depends on who you ask.
You should have seen her face when you say you ain't see Roots. That's a long series, and she watched it probably.
I watched it. Roots, Amistad, all of it. Like, love a good.
Wait, let's be clear though. Like I've watched trust me, I've watched all those movies. It's just when I grew up, like I wasn't 5 in the middle of like in the city.
I was
like,
what time is it? 8 p.m. PBS.
But I had to wait till I was a little Eve's Bayou, all of that, like those movies.
Brooklyn was one of my favorite movies. Like as a kid, that's a good to me. I love that movie. Spike Lee.
I will say my mom was good with the movies, but like that, like I said, Roots, we waited a little bit, so I don't know how you even understood that movie at 5, Shaniqua. I'd have been like, what?
I mean, I probably didn't understand a lot of it, but I also watching Boys in the Hood like the next day, so it's like, pick your battles. But I seriously like, when you think about just, I think the one thing that I love about being Black, even if we're putting like stereotypes aside, stuff like that, is just the culture. I think we are able to build and develop so much, and it comes across in so many different ways. It's amazing. Like, Brandon, when you talk about your son, like, I love him because he's so like unique. I remember like when I was in Michigan, I saw the whole YouTube that he did like on his own. Like he had a whole thing. Like he had showed me, and man, I'm like, did he do this? And you're like, yeah, he did this. This is his free time. I'm like, what the heck? What the heck? But that's what we want to see. We want to see Black boy joy, right? Like everything doesn't have to be, the kids don't have to just be out here in the street. Like that's not our story, and I love that like we, I know we did the parent episode, but again, it goes back to just like how we accepted who we are and we wanted to change the mold for our kids, right? We're not trying to be the same as everyone else. We're trying to do something different so that they can see different, so they can celebrate their Blackness, how it looks like for them. So I think that's kind of where I am with my Blackness. And I think that's why, like, I can play spades. I mean, I don't want to be nobody's partner, but I can play it. However, it's one of those things where it's like, well, it doesn't define me. Like, either I play or I don't play. But I know there are serious, like, spade players out there. And
What? I can play a mean game of solitaire, but don't ask me to.
I mean, I can play speed.
Okay.
Shayna,
Look at Shay's judging us right now.
I know.
Neither one of us are partners.
But it's okay. It's okay.
She judging us. But now that you say about the kid thing, you both mentioned like our kids, and I remember when my son was in, because he went to private school up until COVID, so up until like middle school, and then I was like, I'm not paying those prices for them to learn from at home. So, but I remember when he was going in person, and his private school was predominantly white, and he came home and he was like, I want my hair like Toby, and I'm like, Toby, and it was like this, Caucasian white kid, whatever you want to call it. And his hair was like down to here. Of course, it was like flowing and stuff like that. I was like, all right, let's get you in front of the TV to watch Friday. We ain't having no Friday. It ain't never gonna be that, right? So, but then I also remember when I was in elementary school, I used to pray, like literally pray to my Lord and Savior to have hair like my white friends. Because I was like, how come it sticks up like this? Like, why can't it be flowy? And why do I have to have a perm that burns my soul every 6 weeks? So I remember that, and I was just like, just relaying it back to him. I'm like, I wish like I had that, because I didn't love myself as a Black person when I was younger, and that was part of it, right? Wanting to look like my counterparts, wanting to fit in, because even just in school when they talked about Rosa Parks for the 1 month that they blessed us with a year, I was the little Black girl in the back like, oh my gosh, don't look at me, because I was the only one, and I'm like, they're all gonna look at me because we're talking about Black history. Or if they use like those identifying words, like they never said nigger, but it was like, Black, African American, whatever other words they had in the history books or whatever. And I just remember always being so embarrassed, not just sitting there like, yep, that's us, just being embarrassed. So I think that's important too. And we all know like history is what the schools teach us. It's not even touching the surface. So that's a whole nother conversation for the books for sure. So
definitely, yeah, because I know I didn't learn it until I got to college, like the in-depth version. Obviously we gonna know about Martin Luther King, we gonna know about Rosa Parks. You ain't gonna know really about Malcolm X. They ain't gonna teach you. So you gotta become an adult or watch that movie. I'm sure Nick watched it. But, Malcolm X is. So I definitely feel where you're coming from. And even with, I think about the struggles of like I think my son struggled with it more, because I did something I shouldn't have did. Like we watched the Trayvon Martin documentary, and then I didn't know they was gonna talk about slavery at the same time. It was too much for him because he was one of few in the school, and so he just was like, it was just a lot for him to take on. I guess some little boy lied on him, and so he went to school. They wrote it down, and he got expelled and everything because he said, well, he lied on me. That's what white people do. They lie on Blacks, and we like Blacks get killed or something like that for them lying on us and stuff like that. He just like it just kind of went left. So I had to bring it back and like kind of talk to him about it. But I think for now he'll be 17 pretty soon, and I think he's understanding himself. But I still want him to have that culture, because it's like, even being a Black man in America, like how he's different, how he has to move different. I don't say he's different. He has to move different than his friends. I think his friends they're not his friends anymore, but at one time they were going around smashing mailboxes, and he came and told me. He was like, yeah, they out here smashing mailboxes. So for one, I appreciate that he came and told me directly. And I was like, listen, you can't be with them, because whatever they going in and doing, you're going to be the one that get in trouble for it. So we're not about to do that. So he actually excused himself from that. But it's just those like differences that you just overprotective of your children being in the world, like young Black man.
that too. And having those mentors too, right? Like being able to have positive role models, Black men, is important too. So I know Eli right now, he has a mentor, but he's not Black. He's actually a white pastor or whatever. But he has, a lot of great Black men around him. But I do want to kind of venture out on that, especially because he's getting ready for his college journey. So I do want him to explore more mentors in that area. And my brother is part of a fraternity, and so I know he wants to get him in that circle, not necessarily in the fraternity, but around. They have a lot of groups for youth and things like that. So so just starting to build that. I'm not starting to build a blueprint because I think we've already been laying the gems for that, but definitely making the blueprint more profound and making sure that they are comfortable and love themselves as Black men and women, because you guys have girls. So
yeah.
And I think it's something like is also, teaching at home, because even when you talk about the mentor side of things, I always used to go back and forth about like, the Jack and Jill, right? Like, should I put Dream in Jack and Jill so that she can have more of like that positive role model from like an African-American women, and just seeing that growth. But then I look at her and I, talk to her and have conversations, and it seems like she gets it, and I guess it's one of those things too, like when we think about mentors, right? When do we feel like we need to intervene, when we need to have a mentor for like cultural reasons, right? Like, is there something that we're missing, that we're not giving, that we need them to have like a Black male or female mentor? And I only ask that because I did put my oldest in mentor programs for like to have that connection with Black men, even though he had his dad and uncles and stuff like that. But I also wondered to like, did he get anything out of that? You know what I mean? Or is it some things like you just get at home, or is this natural? Because I will say this, my thing about mentors too is just like, yes, there's a cultural side, but I think also if you can find good people to be in kids' lives, I think that's awesome too, right? Like I think there's like two folds, because it's so hard, especially when we think about young boys, and like just finding like positive male role models can be hard. Like, anyone who's willing to take the time, I think is important. But when do you find that balance of like, he also needs that cultural side too, right? And what does that mean? What are they teaching them? And I always say that because I still have a little one, right? So like, I think I asked that, and he's born and raised in San Antonio. So like, he doesn't have like that back and forth like my oldest did. So like, this is all he knows. So like, I think I also asked myself that question, like, when do I have to have that conversation? Like, oh, he probably needs a Black male role model.
Yeah. Bring him to Camp Franny. Bring him to Michigan. Just joking.
I think it's more of a community. I don't think it's like, how do I think? I don't think it's like, okay, this is what I need. I feel like he can have multiple mentors. You can have multiple people in your life. Just so somebody that to plant seeds in it. I don't think it's just that one dynamic, or it's not just at home, because sometimes they learn more outside the home. Somebody might come in their life that just get it, or maybe just plant a seed that might not mature until later. I just think that because, well, the struggles with my son. I could not get him into anything. Because he was struggling pretty bad, and like I reached out to so many people, many different organizations that really didn't respond. And so he ended up going to therapy, and his therapist ended up being a white man who he actually just connected with and helped him and things like that. So I do get that, but I also feel like it's not enough. Trying to look at my words, find my words that's more political, but enough positive influence within my own family for him to have an example of. So all his examples is kind of like how I grew up, is maybe not what I want. So I have to figure it out. So in his journey through, he's a young man going into his, I don't want to say, well, I guess legally adult. He'll be 18 next year.
No.
During that, no. During this journey, it's gonna be some things that I cannot teach him, but I can support him through it. And that's the only thing I say. Like I cannot lead you during that, because I have never had to experience that as a Black woman. But what I can do is I can support you through it. And I was hoping to find community out there for him. Unfortunately, we didn't, and we're at this point now where he's older, And that's why I'm, like I said, I'm a proponent for pushing him to HBCU, just because I want him to have that exposure, because he didn't have that so much in his life.
Yeah. And I don't know much about politics. It's not for be political, but I will say one thing, and I always wondered this: the big thing that, like, why we had community, especially like for us in the hood who, or any area who didn't fit in. There were so many programs though that we could figure it out. There was a Boys and Girls Club. There was a power company. There was a random church bus picking us up on Saturdays somewhere. Like, right. There was something always going on in the community where, like, you were able to go and find that community, right? Or even like if you are like in like this predominantly Black or predominantly white area, there's somebody, a bus will take you and you can find your people at least for 3 weeks out of a month or something. Like none of that happens anymore. So
No.
like it's so easy to, like, you know, always be in your mind of like, you know, who am I? What am I? If like social media is the only thing that's telling you that, if you only see the stereotypes, or you only see like, oh, I relate to them, they don't look like me, or if you only see like these YouTube channels and no one looks like me, but I like that stuff too. So where do I fit in? Like it's so many different areas now that make all these identity crises. And I feel like we didn't have to, we had like buffers, we had other outlets. It just felt like.
No, I agree. We had a recreation center in every side of town. It was 4. It was 4 recreation centers in Pontiac. If not 5, but on every side of town. And I remember I played basketball, so the coach used to come. We didn't have a ride. He would come in his own personal vehicle and pick everybody up that needed a ride. So that is not there anymore. Those types of people that kind of poured into the kids who, like, hey, y'all go get here. Y'all go get to practice. Y'all go get to these games if I had to take you myself.
Yeah, they definitely would need to revitalize, bring a lot of things back that we've just lost along the way. Did y'all see me do this? I know what's missing. My throat's dry. I don't have my wine.
No, I was wondering.
I need coffee.
Because I saw your cup earlier and I was like, oh, I forgot to grab my wine, but it's okay. Next time I will have my glass ready to go. But so I know we're gonna wrap it up soon, because the other thing too, which is a whole nother topic, and we talked about this before a while ago when we were coming up with the concept of Minus a Blueprint. My son does not want to date Black girls right now, and it is messing with my mental. Okay, I am just
we're not.
I'm gonna grab my wine next time. But no, it is messing with my mental, because again, as I said, the pride in my Blackness has grown as I've become an adult, and for him to say that is almost like a punch in the gut for me. Like, oh, like, what do you mean you don't want to date Black women? Like, your mother is a Black woman. The woman who you should love the most in this world is a Black woman. And then I'm just like Neek just said, like, there's so many different stereotypes that they're exposed to just on YouTube, VH1, all that. They see Black women as ghetto, loud, can't get along, you know, this and that. And I'm like, I know that's not what how I exemplify myself. And so I'm just like, why was that such more of a message to him more than what I've been showing him at home? And so I know we're going to get into a whole topic of that, because I know I can't control his life. If you want to date your little Hispanic and, you know, Caucasian females right now, then that's okay. But I want black grandbabies, okay?
Man, that's a whole nother. No, that's a good one though, friend. Like even like not even just from like your son perspective. Like I will say this. I know we're gonna talk about this, but even as a Black woman, like when trying to talk to people, like I always feel like I'm defending myself that like I'm not that Black woman. Like I just feel like men already have this stereotype and like, oh, you don't do this like this Black, like yes, the stereotype thing comes back is like traumatized. Like, no, I don't do that. Like all Black women don't do that. All Black women don't do this. Like we're not all like reality TV show. Like, yeah, we do regular stuff like anybody else, but it's like, I don't know. I think it's just like people are overexposed to nonsense that when they see something that's normal, they're just like, what is this? I know this.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, that's my relationship voice. What is this? Because that's how they sound.
You say all of them as a whole, because you're not singling nobody out, right?
No. This is universal. Unless we have a special guest on who tell me different. Like, but yeah. I digress.
I want to comment on that. What you just said. I know we're gonna go into that too. But my son's first girlfriend was somebody outside his race, and I was like, oh, okay. But this is what happens when you take them out of area where it's a lot of black girls to choose from. Because like for me, we stay in a predominantly white area, and his school is predominantly white, so that's what he's exposed to. And I guess the only thing is he never said he wouldn't, but it's just what he's been. That's around. I remember he my son plays soccer too, so he does not. I mean, he don't play basketball. He plays soccer. That's his thing. And I remember going to his game. Me and my daughter was in the stands, and it was like some girls that came up, little students that was sitting behind, and all I hear is, "Oh, where's Zion at?" And I was like, and my daughter tapping me. They talking about Zion. It's like, "Oh, where he at?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like I wasn't prepared for that part of it, but it's just where he's exposed to. But we do talk about that, and I can't wait till we get into the episode though.
I know, and I'm gonna process some things before we do and really get my words together because I don't want to offend anybody either. I know everybody, right, is proud of their race. They're proud of where they come from. I'm not against biracial, interracial relationships or whatever. And obviously, I want my son to be happy in whatever race that is, for him to be with. That's fine. Most of it was joking, but I do want him to still, be proud of where he's from, be proud of his culture and whatnot. So yes, that is a whole different.
Like date everybody, not to say, okay, this is all I want to date. Just be
open.
Yeah,
because I don't want you to date it because of the negative stereotype you have of Black women. I want you to really truly let that truly be your preference because of A, B, and C. So, exactly. But yeah.
My question, I know we're only wrapping up. Have y'all dated outside our race?
We gonna talk about this topic? I mean, in this episode?
I think she wants to like skim it and then come back.
I mean, I'm just curious.
Have I went on dates with someone outside my race? I have. One of the times was when I was in DC. I went out with this guy. He was from Peru, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this was DC, Chocolate City, DC. Like it was not the gentrified DC. So it was like the looks that I got. But I was like, I don't know. He was a sweet guy, but it just, I think that's it. Maybe. Yeah. Janiqua, have you?
Not the inside laugh, knowing that we know she did.
I have dated outside my race. Yes.
That's all you got.
That's all she's gonna say. So we all have dated outside of our race, which is a whole other story time. And it's not obvious. It's not uncommon. We're in 2025, so mine has never been long term though. Mine was just like little quick. Hey, how you doing? It's so hard not to go into it, but I'm gonna save it. But that's another great topic that we can get into. So
I'm just curious.
Okay, so final thoughts on this topic, ladies. I think this was a really great conversation that can go on for hours.
I think my final thoughts on it is I think like I said before, I have gotten better about the isolation part of you act white, because it's just like it is what it is now at this point. But Nick, you definitely brought it back to perspective. It's from, I don't want to say it like that because it's from people that who you don't aspire to be, basically. That's all I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But I thought this was a really good episode.
No, I agree. I think you hit it right on the nail. I think at the end of the day, people who may see us or anyone like, oh, they don't act Black enough, their definition of Blackness may not be the right definition, because that's not a thing. We all are successful. We are all here to grow, to learn, just like any other culture, so what does it mean not to be Black enough? And if it's to not their standards, are they living up to their potential, their full potential? Maybe that's something they need to ask themselves. So I think the takeaway is just like, if that is something that you're dealing with where you don't feel like you fit in, with your community, as a Black person, Black woman, Black male, maybe you just haven't found your community yet. It's out there. Maybe the people that you are around who are saying these things, that's not your people. Doesn't mean that your people are not Black. You just need to find more like-minded people. And I think that's the biggest thing that I have learned in this journey. It's just like, people are going to say what they're going to say. I just need to go where my tribe is, right? I just need to go around other Black women who I can relate to, who we can have these silly conversations and all this other stuff. Like that's what I need. If I can't, I'm not going to take off my earrings, get in the street with you. I will call the police, but I'm not going to rumble. But if that's what you do, that's what you do. That's not my people. So like, it's one of those things where you just find where you fit in and go from there. But I think also as we think about just our kids, it's all about educating. Like yes, I watch all the movies, and I highly suggest people, Roots can be a lot for some people, Amistad, all of it, but like even if it's just reading, even if it's just like watching like a documentary, but it's definitely important to know where you come from. I think society is trying to do a really good job at wiping it out. It happened. It is what it is. So don't let society try to tell you something that's not true. At the end of the day, you may have it good now, but there was a struggle. There was a part of us that had to take some time for us to get here. Like Franny's granddad is the first like African-American postman in Canada. Like, granddad, like that's not too many generations far back. So we got to make sure we keep that stuff alive, because that's who we are. So it doesn't matter like who you date, what race, whatever, as long as you know who you are and you're able to keep passing that down. I feel like that's what it means to be Black.
Love that. Look, I was gonna start praise dancing. No, I agree.
Right. I'm like, speak the truth. That's exactly right. I second that.
Yeah, and I again, because I have, of course, I have different friends of different cultures, and I don't want anyone to get this misconstrued. I love everyone, right? I love all races. Of course, I love being Black even more. But I also empower, like I want to encourage people to learn their history and not just the bad parts. We weren't all it wasn't all just about slavery. We were kings and queens. Like there's a lot of history that has just not been uncovered or that a lot of people don't know about. So, knowledge is power. Learn about where you come from and what your ancestors had to go through. And there were even powerful white counterparts that helped us through, slavery and everything else we went through. So, I don't want to be like, ooh, white people suck, right? Like there were a lot of great white leaders out there as well that helped us through, throughout Black history. So I think the takeaway is just empower yourself with knowledge. And also dinner at Franny's, spaghetti and meatballs, shepherd's pie, fries and gravy. Get your palates ready, Neek and Shay, because it's going down in March.
I only have one more request for this dinner at Fran's. I want to do 3 things. I want to learn how to jit. I want to learn what is the Tammy dance? What is it? The Tammy dance?
You don't even know the name of it. The Tammy dance. You're blocked.
No, what is it? I always do it at your house.
I'm taking your Black card.
And I usually like in the background somewhere. Then I gravitate to a couch because I'm like, I'm not keeping up with them. Shannon, you do it too. What dance, y'all? What is it? Like, yeah.
Tamia hustle. You just
Tamia hustle. Okay, I want to do Tamia hustle. I want to jit hustle. And I want to double dutch.
Oh. Okay.
You want to do all that in March?
And go see Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies, I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this evening. Although we're covered, we got 10 inches here, Neek. So I don't know what you got over there. 10 inches of snow.
Ain't got nothing over there. So what they got over there?
Stay warm.
Yeah. But we thank you everyone for joining us again on another episode of Minus the Blueprint. We hope you have been enjoying thus far, and talk to us, write us, chat us. We have all of our social media platforms open, so reach out to us there as well, and of course TAN TV as well. So God bless everyone. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thanks.